afternoon session, the Riverside County Planning Commission. Please turn off your cell phones, put them on silent, along with any of the buzzers. To get some things out of the way, we have 3 agenda items where staff's recommendations have been changed to continue without discussion to June 24th. They are agenda items 7.2, 7.3, and 7.5. We would like 7.2, 7.3, and 7.5. And 7.6 off calendar. I so move.
Second.
24. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. We'll go then now to agenda item 6.1, ordinance 348.4647. Staff report.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. Larry Ross, Planning Staff. Agenda item 6.1 is changed to ordinance 348, in which there would be a proposed change for the public hearing requirement for accessory buildings, change the minimum requirement from 401 square feet to 651 square feet or larger. Public hearing will not be required for detached accessory buildings 1,201 square feet or less if the building is located on a parcel larger than 1 acre and the building is set back from property lines a minimum of 50 feet. All other provisions of the ordinance shall remain in place. The accessory building section of 348 was changed in response to a large number of complaints received from neighbors regarding the land use compatibilities of these accessory structures and other uses. The complaints were both received by the urban communities and in the rural communities. Even with the large parcels, accessory buildings were placed in such a way that the accessory building was placed close to another user and farther away from the primary user. Numerous changes were made to the ordinance, but these changes were consistent with operational changes that we've been operating through the years. The most significant change originally was that a public hearing requirement was added for new accessory buildings over 400 square feet, and that change took effect March 26, 2008. So we basically had a year living with this process and with this change in the ordinance. So during this year, we've had 126 approved, 3 denied, 81 remain in process, and 23 are at hearing. Now the reason why there's so many are in process and at hearing is largely because of code enforcement actions and also the emergency ordinance that was done in response to the problems we were having with guest loans. Ordinance amendment description. With 1 year's experience, staff recommends that a change in the minimum requirement of the public hearing from 401 square feet to 651, and then adding the allowance I mentioned before, that if the parcel is over an acre and the structure is below 1,201 square feet and the structure is set back 50 feet from all property lines. Now, if any of those are not met,
I have 4 speaker slips. They're all in favor. If any begins, I would like to tell everybody here that we are required to leave the facilities here by 4:30 p.m. today. 4:30. Staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cameron Harrison, Planning Department staff. Agenda item 6.2, General Plan Amendment number 1073. This is a county-initiated general plan amendment to land use policy 6.2 dealing with public facilities. A little background, the public facilities designation was created in 2003 as part of the general plan update and was applied to those areas that had public facilities on parcels at that time, and then also areas that we believe future public facilities may be appropriate. The intent of the designation was not, however, to require that public facilities in the future only be located on those lands designated public facilities. The current wording in Land Use 6.2 may be interpreted to restrict the location of the needed public facilities, and it doesn't prohibit such facilities in areas such as open space conservation and open space habitat. Prohibiting public facilities in OSC and OSH is critical due to the sensitive nature of those areas. The new wording in the policy clarifies that public facilities will be allowed in any location except on land located or designated as OSC and OSH. The clarification of the policy is consistent with the county zoning ordinance, which currently provides that federal, state, and county and city projects may be located in any zone. After further conferring with council and considering public comments that have been received in response to this proposal, staff is currently recommending the following language for the policy. And basically what we did is the items that you see there in orange, the last statement, has been deleted from the policy. So basically it will read, notwithstanding the public facilities designation, public facilities shall also be allowed in any other land use designation except for the open space conservation and open space habitat land use designations. For purposes of this policy, a public facility shall include all facilities operated by the federal government, the state of California, the county of Riverside, any special district governed by the county of Riverside, or any city, all facilities operated by any combination of these agencies. So that last section will be deleted. With that, the planning director recommends tentative adoption of comprehensive general plan number 1073 based upon the findings and conclusions incorporated in staff report. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. We do have quite a number of speaker slips here. I'd like to remind the public that if you can refrain from repeating already stated given information from previous speakers, that will facilitate our trying to meet the deadline to leave by 4:30. But everybody who submitted a speaker slip will have an opportunity to speak. County Council?
Just a point of clarification here too. Can you put the language back on the screen that shows the deleted clause? In response to your concerns, that last clause has been deleted. So private facilities, private persons will not be able to operate facilities as was originally proposed. So when you come forward to speak, I'd like to keep that in mind.
Well, that certainly was my major concern. So I'm actually okay with it now that that sentence is mentioned.
I'm just looking over this. There's an order that was submitted by members of the audience. Okay. First speaker. First of all, I'd like to ask if there's anybody who wishes to speak in support of this GPA who didn't submit a slip. Is there anybody in a neutral position? Then I do have those who wish to speak in opposition, and we will begin with Fred Bartz, and you will have 3 minutes.
Members of the County Planning Commission, my name is Fred Bartz. I live in the community of Morgan Hill, which is in the county of Riverside, and I serve on their board of the Homeowners Association. Our objection, one of those objections you already addressed in the minutes, so I will skip that portion. Our second concern is that we understand that the language projects must not be detrimental to public health and the welfare of the people is being removed from this text in addition to what was stated. So there's a second change that we were told to be made. That was not addressed by staff. If I'm wrong, I stand corrected and withdraw our objection, but it is being eliminated from the text of the change along with this here. And we totally object to the fact that the county wishes that people's health and welfare be affected by this change. That's my only comment. We totally object if that is being eliminated from the text. But we were told by staff that that was being eliminated because they don't follow it anyway. That was quote what I was told. So, if that's not correct, it's our comments, but other than we object to approving it, there's also text being eliminated at the same time. That's all comments.
Thank you, sir. Merle Hammond?
Good afternoon, Commission. My name is Merle Hammond. I'm a resident of Temecula. Before moving to Temecula, I practiced law in Orange County. I am presently a member of several environmental groups, and although not currently in active practice, a member of the California State Bar. I'm here today to oppose the proposed land use amendment because as I look at it, I'm very concerned about the environment, and I'm very concerned about the ambiguities still in the proposed amendment, even though the last prepositional phrase has been taken out. I feel that the issue has not been studied appropriately and given enough consideration, and does not take into account the public health and safety, as does the prior LU62. So those are the reasons that I'm opposing the current one. I would urge the Commission please to consider more fully the ambiguities that exist presently in the proposed LU6 and to study perhaps even other counties to see how they've handled and addressed this issue. I thank you for your courtesy.
Thank you. Sandra Dutra?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is
Be closer to the mic.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm from Nuevo, California. I have comments that I will give to you, but I will say this as quickly as I can. The proposed general plan amendment number 1073 is overbroad. It would permit the unfettered use of both public and private land, except in conserved lands in any manner deemed appropriate by the then sitting Board of Supervisors. As we have seen over the past recent years, political agendas and special interests dominate county decisions as to how land may be used, even where the use burdens the health and welfare of residents and small businesses in the area. The idea that government knows best and obstacles to their plans must be eliminated in order to best serve the people violates both the California and the United States Constitutions. The law of our land is in essence that people know best, and government must follow the people's will and welfare, and thus the requirement of notice and an opportunity to dispute the considered action is fundamental to American law. The proposed ordinance violates both substantive and procedural due process. This ordinance would eliminate any meaningful opportunity to challenge the wisdom and impacts of placing a public-private facility in a particular neighborhood. Certainly, it would nearly eliminate the NIMBY problem for government. However, that is the point. Residents who will bear the burden of the facility should and by law must have notice and an opportunity to challenge the placement, uses, impacts, conditions of the proposed project. Where there are no zoning and orderly land use demarcations, there is no rational or logical consideration for the uses of a particular parcel. Anything goes. Thus, under this ordinance, the public will have no means to be assured that their home is secure from having a sewer treatment plant, a gravel pit, a private police training ground, a prison facility placed near and inappropriate for that community's lifestyle and infrastructure, peace and safety. Under this ordinance, any difficult facility that has a scintilla of politically articulable public benefit can be located anywhere so long as it does not disturb protected animal life. It's time we recognize that human life is worth protecting from the same land uses that destroy the well-being of other flora and fauna. The statutory and applicable constitutional principles were put in place for the very purpose of limiting government's ability to permit land uses that are consequential and burdening to residents and neighbors. This ordinance guts those state and federal principles for the dubious goal of making it easier for government to use land any way they see fit. Eliminating stakeholders from having a say in a decision certainly makes life easier for the decision makers,
If you can wind up your comments, please.
but it is morally wrong and, thank God, still legally wrong in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dutcher. Glenn Scriven?
Good afternoon. I'm Glenn Scriven. My wife and I live on Norton Drive. From our front porch, we can overlook most of the planned Procinctu Incorporated facility. We are very concerned with the effect of the Procinctu Incorporated development will have on our property values and the general development of the area. Procinctu Group Incorporated is located in San Diego County and is a privately owned and operated by Mr. Choate as president and CEO. Riverside County has defined Procinctu as a public facility. So, what is a public facility? Here is a quote from Riverside County land use document. Uses within public facilities land use designation provide essential support services to the county. These uses include airports, landfills, flood control, and these activities. Potential conflicts with surrounding land uses can thus occur. The intent of these policies is to provide for adequate public facilities within the county and to ensure compatibility with surrounding land uses. Procinctu Incorporated, I suggest, does not comply with the above land use designations. Procinctu Incorporated activities at the site are incompatible with surrounding land uses. Some examples: the proposed racetrack for military and police vehicles is bound to produce excessive noise and dust. A church is located north of the site. A proposed elementary school would be located a few hundred feet south of the site. The boundary of the new town of Menifee is just south of the site. The area around the site is rapidly transforming from semi-rural to urban community. The training site is not secure due to unfenced open hills above the site. Large quantities of weapons and ammunition could be or would be stored at the site, which could attract criminal break-ins. So what is going on here? The revision of LU 62 appears to be an attempt by the county to legitimize their preemptive fast-track effort to approve the Procinctu Incorporated facility. The county has attempted to define Procinctu as a public facility. This seems to be a real stretch. Typical public facilities are utilities, landfills, airports, and schools, all financed and operated and controlled by local government. Questions and concerns? This proposed ordinance change should not be set up as a way of evading the current restrictions placed by the county zoning of the area.
If you could wind up, sir.
This conflict is only resolved by the naming of this private facility as a public utility. I'm impressed by the suggestion of Commissioner Schnell that if Procinctu Incorporated does not provide exclusive service to the county, then it is not a public facility. I'll finish. I'll skip through it. Other facilities like this are controlled by the Sheriff's Department, by the user of the facility. It seems that this privatization of public function, there is a loss of control by the public. Also, the Sheriff's Department has a training facility in Canyon Crest. What happens to that facility?
If you could wind up, sir.
I'm sorry, just one more. Approval of the proposed changes to LU 6.2 opens up the local controversy to the entire county. Does the Board of Supervisors really want to do this? Do they want a local smoldering issue ignited into a county-wide firestorm? An inspiring young attorney could have a field day with what the county has been doing to get Procinctu Incorporated approved. Residents of the Roland area do not have deep pockets, but we do have the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Martha Bridges. County Council?
Just a reminder to the commission and the members of the audience, the Procinctu project would not be allowed under the wording that's currently proposed. So it really has, at this point, nothing to do with policy.
County Council, it wouldn't be allowed to follow this exemption, but it could go under another process.
Well, and I can clarify that. This,
Talk more loudly, please.
can you hear me now?
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Procinctu project was never considered exempt from the general plan or the zoning ordinance. It was processed as a public use permit. The issue in that case was whether or not it qualified as an educational institution. And the determination was made that it did because it had contracts with the state and federal government. So it's an apples and oranges situation. This policy addresses projects that would be considered exempt completely from the general plan and zoning ordinance. But Procinctu is not one of those projects. It was properly processed as a public use permit. It was not considered exempt. A facility like that would never be considered exempt.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Sure, I'm not going to speak about Procinctu. I am concerned about the elimination of verbiage in the existing LU 6.2 that refers to a lot of environmental protections and safeguards. That would be Section A and Section B. Because of the limited time, I will not read those to you unless you would like me to. But I would say that without the protections and safeguards found in the existing LU 6.2, the proposed new amendment could have widespread ramifications and could potentially allow private facilities doing any kind of business loosely associated with publication agencies to be approved at the sole discretion of the Board of Supervisors and the Planning Department, bypassing CEQA guidelines, normally required environmental impact reports, and EPA regulations. I would ask you to consider the tremendous ramifications that this could have countywide, not only to unincorporated areas, but to cities who border on or are adjacent to these areas. So I'm very, very concerned about that. And I feel that the justification which the planning department has presented to you is thoroughly misleading because of leaving out that language. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Bridges. County Council?
Something that needs to be clarified for the commission's benefit as well as the audience. CEQA is not being bypassed here. Even if a general plan amendment wouldn't be required for put a public facility in, or a zoning change wouldn't be required, CEQA is required. The county and any agency, any governmental agency, with the exception of the federal government, which has a NEPA process, is required to consider environmental impacts, required to propose mitigation measures to address those, and if they cannot be fully mitigated, to make overriding findings. So the environmental issues will be addressed in any event.
Thank you. On that similar theme, since we're talking about this, what about the public input and public notification? The comments were of all of the same nature. You don't have to follow CEQA, you don't have to have any public input, you don't have to have any hearings, you don't have to, and so
Well,
if you could just continue to...
The CEQA process encompasses public input. You have a draft DIR that's sent out for comment. People are allowed to make their comments. Those comments must be addressed by the agency that's proposing the project. So there's ample opportunity for public input.
And so this combined with the zoning ordinance, there's no permits required, there's no plot plan?
Correct.
Okay, so CEQA has the threshold that's,
Correct.
that's
Robert Peppers.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Robert Eppers. I'm a resident of French Valley. And just quite simply, I'm here to adamantly oppose this. This is something that you would see in a communist government. This is a democracy. It's not a socialist state yet. Just want to remind you that myself, I am a citizen, I am a voter, I'm a taxpayer, I'm a property owner, veteran, probably like most of my neighbors and friends. And we have our rights, and I think this really violates our rights. You have, along with your titles, you have the basic responsibility and duty to protect the citizens. And really, I expect you to do that. If not, shame on you. This whole thing is disgraceful. And like I say, you and everybody else from the county, works for the people. It's not the other way around. This should not be a matter of let's make it easy and convenient for the government to do as they see best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Eppers. Raymond Lutz and Elma Grant has given for 3 minutes. Is Elma here? Yes. Thank you. You will have 6 minutes, sir.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief. My name is Ray Lutz. I'm with citizensoversight.org. I came up from San Diego County today to speak with you. We all have had a similar project down there, Potrero with Blackwater, very, very much a similar type of project. That was eventually turned back by the voters by recalling the entire planning group that was deciding on it. So all of the planning group was recalled by more than a 2-to-1 margin. So I would caution you, I know you don't like to hear threats, but the public doesn't like these sort of projects going in, typically. The thing that I see here, that's the reality of this entire little shenanigan that's being pulled with this change is that they're trying to make the Procinctu project palatable. They're trying to work it in. They had it set up so that a private organization like Procinctu could just breeze through with this last phrase, which as you see is ridiculous. I will speak to that because as there's no motion on the floor, I don't know what you guys are going to do. So until there's a motion, everything is open for discussion. In the document, the conclusion is, number 3, this amendment is exempt from the provision of CEQA, it says. So just putting that in there alerts the public that you guys are trying to get around this provision. Just making this change is so big. When you take a look at what it used to be, which was a direction to encourage to look at the public safety, welfare, and other things such as looking at noise and so forth, noise, traffic light, fumes, and odors, all taken out. All of a sudden, we're not going to be concerned about those things. You've got to have a good reason to take those words out of there, because otherwise you're saying you don't care about noise, fumes, light, traffic, or anything else. What's your job going to be if you're not going to take those into consideration? If you make this change, virtually anything, anybody can come in like Procinctu and claim to be a public institution. They're absolutely not a public institution. That's a lie. Proof is they do not get their money from the taxpayer directly, like you do. They get it through a contract. And anybody that happens to be a contractor with the government is not a public institution. You can have somebody with a sole contract with the government that might make missiles, for example. Nobody else buys those. But they're not a public institution. They're a private corporation. That's the definition. The fact that Procinctu is classed as public is simply untrue. And what they tried to do here was to add this phrase in so that it was okay even if they weren't a public institution. So this whole scene of trying to get Procinctu through must be really good friends with the Board of Supervisors, and hopefully you guys will see through what's going on here. This is wrong. I'll conclude my comments here. Thank you for turning this back. Bye.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Lutz.
Yes.
Commissioner Petty? I don't remember, I mean, Procinctu's not here, I don't think, to defend themselves, but I don't ever remember, and I chaired that meeting, I think, when we approved that project. It's been at least, been over a year. I don't ever remember them stating that they were a public institution or a public entity. They always maintained they were a private facility, engaged in training. They had, I would encourage you to revisit. The transcripts are available for that public hearing.
Yes,
Public notice
in that
provided.
it's in there. It's in the meeting that was had with their presentation. They stated that they're a public institution. They also state that they're an educational institution. And we heard here that they're a public educational institution. They're not an educational institution either. They can't even be near one because the local elementary school, the superintendent sent a letter to the Board of Supervisors stating that they would no longer be able to open that school because it's within range of this warfare training facility. The fact that an existing plan for an educational institution says we can't be next to that thing over there because it's so different from us that's proof right there that it is not an educational institution. Both of those things are wrong.
Well, I think that ship has sailed, with all due respect, unless there's something that I'm not aware of. Is there any kind of challenge to that approval, Mr. Gould?
No. How would we make such a challenge?
Well, you're free to do that, sir, but I'm just saying, have you reviewed the transcript or the tapes for that public hearing?
I try to review as much as I can. I don't even live in this county. We have a lot of people here that have.
I appreciate that, but I actually, was there and participated and listened to all the public testimony after a very, absolutely legal public notice requirement was sent out to all, I think more than our statutory requirement of how we circulate our radius map notice. I would encourage you to, you can have the, actually it's the actual tapes, I believe.
Well, I'm sure you're very much in compliance with all of those rules, which are very insufficient for notice of the community. In this type of area where
those are by the state of California, sir.
The houses, I'm sure, I said you're probably in compliance with the rules. That's not the issue.
Let's not argue about the rules.
That the people here are here for a reason. They're not here just to blow smoke and for you to say, I'm not interested. They're here because this is a concern to their community, and I hope you'll listen to it.
No.
And if there's any way that you can help them out, please do it. Tell them how to make a,
I would just want to make sure they haven't been riled up unnecessarily. That's my concern.
Come on. You made your comments, Commissioner Petty. You made your comments. And I'd like to continue with the public discourse here. Commissioner Roth, sir, before you leave.
Sir?
Mr. Lutz?
Sure.
Commissioner Roth has a question.
I'm not quite sure why this is coming out at this juncture in our lives. We held hearings, and apparently you weren't notified, and I don't know why, but I guess you're in San Diego County, so you're outside our education area. There are a lot of people that have been in here from time to time talking about this facility, and they came in after the fact also. I don't understand the after the fact concern with this facility where you could have appeared when we were taking testimony on it and stated your case.
Well, this did not go through the full process that they had to do down in San Diego, I'll tell you that much right now.
This is not
Sir, we're in Riverside County. Excuse me.
Can I answer his question?
No, I want to clarify something. Don't argue extraneous issues before us. We are not in San Diego County. We are in Riverside County. So let's stay to how we function here.
Point of order.
Okay.
No, sir. There will be no public outbursts.
This is a point of order, sir.
We don't entertain points of order.
There's no comment in public comment.
Sir? Continue, Commissioner Roth.
In any event, what you're saying about the public being an educational institution or whatever it happens to be, or whether it's run by private operators, we're taking that last sentence out. I don't understand why you're
concerned about this private operator bit because we're not even talking about that anymore.
That motion isn't on the floor that I've heard. Is there a motion on the floor?
No.
No.
Sir, we don't run by your rules. You have 3 minutes to make your comments, you have 6 minutes, and we will entertain your comments according to the way we run our business here. You're familiar with the format now.
Can I make a response to what he said?
Respond.
According to the procedure they were using in San Diego.
Sir,
which
I
is
can't.
Let me finish my point, please. They said this had statewide implication. This is the same kind of facility which has statewide implications. I have a right to be here and express myself by this statewide implication, a warfare training facility which has contracts with the government, of which I'm a citizen. So, no, I have a right to be here and make these statements,
I
sir.
didn't say you didn't have a right to be here and make any statement that you so desire. That's okay. But what I'm saying is, we have something on the floor now, which you're arguing about, which as you pointed out, we haven't made a motion, we haven't voted on it, but you know, it's entirely possible that that phrase will be stricken from this particular wording up here. So I don't know why you're so excited before we've even done anything.
Well, I have a right to be excited. The point is that Procinctu is mentioned in this document, therefore it's fair game. The document, the way Procinctu was defined was it was defined as a public institution, which it says public facilities are okay by this if you go by that designation. Now, I'll provide that to you.
Mr. Petty.
I'll provide that information.
Allow me to speak.
I'll provide the information in the documents that I have and I've read that they say we are a public institution and we're an educational institution. More than happy to provide that.
Please do, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rock.
No, it's not fair.
Mr. Lutz, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
No, we won't have any outbursts from the audience. Robert Carver Newland II. Are you here? You'll have 3 minutes, sir.
When does my time begin? Now, I apologize for being seated in the back row. I'm a front row Baptist, but my wife, a beautiful woman dressed in purple, prefers to be more obscure and less noticed, so she will not be speaking. So, I'm dealing with the land use amendment issue, 6.2, as you know. And we've already heard that this has nothing to do with Procinctu. We've already heard that. So I won't mention the word Procinctu then until I do. And since I plan to be governor of the state of California, that's not the reason I'm here. I will need bodyguards, but I already have plenty of them. My Lord and Savior takes care of that for the most part. I appreciate you looking up and paying attention to this. I am concerned about the possibility of something like Procinctu coming under these guidelines. I think that, as others have mentioned, that it's incompatible with the area. I have some concern about paramilitary training in general, but not absolutely. And I think that it's available to the military and through police academies to address that particular issue. But where it was proposed, and apparently John has already said that we approved that, and so we're proud of ourselves that we're going to locate something like that where we're going to locate it. But I think that it's incompatible with the area that's been referenced. And I being of agricultural background, realize that I have to eat every day. I rarely use a gun. And I never tackle someone to the ground, so you may relax. And I think that the serious problem with some of this is this fast-track phenomenon that I see occurring in Riverside County. Now, I don't know about San Diego County, so I can't comment on that. But to fast-track something sidesteps things I wonder why that actually is the case. I think then with any sort of project, we actually need complete environmental reviews, and we need significant public input. Now, have I generated any questions? Other than I do want to say thank you for that you serve in this capacity and represent the people.
Mr. Newman, I see no questions from the commission. Thank you for your comments.
You're certainly welcome.
Ida Martin. Quit fiddling with the thermostat.
It's getting cold in here.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for making clarification to the last sentence in that amendment, because that's basically what my concerns were. But the other thing that I do have concerns on is clarification. What kind of uses are we talking about? Public facilities. Can somebody give me some clarification to what kind of uses?
Planning director? Could be a county facility, a county building, for example.
Jail, water treatment plant, sewer treatment plant.
GPSS type facility.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, because I mean, I'm hearing different stories, and then they just, you know, I don't know how factual they are, but it would be helpful to get some clarification on
Could be a borrow pit, or whatever.
that. I mean, with the last,
You know, I mean, there's,
with that
I can
last,
understand why they would be concerned about whatever.
yes, because actually, when that last sentence was on there, I had concerns about an OHV park. I mean, that's exactly what we were hearing during the demonstrations at the OHV hearings, is that they were changing them from an OHV private tract to a public facility. And that would have been falling under the county's interpretation. So I'm glad you took that off. The other one is, Catherine, when you made the statement in regards to the amendment to this exemption would be exempt from CEQA, it's just the amendment, correct? Not the project itself.
No, the project will be subject to full secret.
I understood that, but I felt like there was some confusion in the audience. They didn't understand.
Most public projects require environmental impact reports. Rarely
I only asked
don't.
the questions because I knew that there was still some confusion.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Gary Grant. I'll also ask the public, when you make your comments, you can ask questions of the commission. We're not obligated to respond at this time. We can include them in remarks after the public comments have been made. Mr. Grant?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gary Grant. And first and foremost, I've heard a lot about Procinctu and private warfare. Have anybody here had tactical warfare training? Nobody on this board. Tactical warfare training creates the area and mountainous terrain, etc. Somebody has to know about it before you can justify that it's a public entity and a public process. I can assure you it is. There'll be warfare. There's no determination where those shots are going to go anyway. So consequently, that is a private entity in my mind. And it's against the principles of democracy. And I'd like to read you as I read the policy amendment of the LU element 6.2, I would ask you who initiated the change and what was the justification of the changes? Is there anybody that can tell me that on this commission? Or that they had privy knowledge to that? That they were privy to this information and this particular obliteration of the democracy that we live under? The public agency is to be changed is that of a private agency. So I was told in the information that I received, which was probably 72 hours ahead. Now, when I come to this meeting, my hours have been wasted because you've taken it off. Just like that, somebody took it off. Is that the way our government runs? That we get nervous about something that's on the board here that you created and you changed. I didn't think the original issue was wrong. Did you read it? It was great, the first general plan process. The amendment is devastating. I'll carry on. Sorry, General, I object based on the fact of no transparency of the private agency. That was my direction in my speech, and that's where you wasted all my time and effort. Have you ever tried to follow anything in this governmental entity? They are on meetings every day, sir. I'd have to take my bed to the Riverside County to attend all meetings that are necessary to fight off the things that are happening in this county. It's unfortunate. Examples of abuse is green power windmills. Would you have that up in the school? Electrical power lines, towers, telephone towers, sludge cyclone, trash dumps, and the list goes on. Also, our checks and balances have been eroded so much by policies such as this policy change that our Constitution has been polluted by such actions, and our citizens' rights are virtually non-existent. And I beg of you, if you are truly representatives of the people, to give this serious consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. And Weston?